Hi, everybody. It's Gwen from Proof of Africa. Today, we're going to continue our discussion with Megan and Monfo about the different projects they are currently having in Cameroon. How are you guys?
We're doing great. Thanks for having us on again, Gwendol.
Yeah, we're doing great, Gwendol. Thank you for having us again.
It's a pleasure. So what we're going to do today is something a bit different compared to what we did before. Actually, you guys had some interview in a market in Douala just to kind of take the temperature about the different projects you have and to see like if people find an interest in stuff. So you're going to present us this different interview you did with a variety of vendors, business owners, and stuff. So you're gonna present us that. Sorry, and in the background we're gonna show the video of the interview you did because the sound is probably not perfect, so it's probably better if you re-explain over it. But yeah, that's the idea today. So perhaps you can tell us a bit the different projects you wanna present us today.
Yeah, and maybe a disclaimer, this was our first time filming out and about, so we're collecting some tips about how to make it better to see next time. So I think we'll start with our lost and found application. This is in the nation building Dapps category, and our interview took place at a travel agency in Douala. We went there to really show some examples, first of all, of a place where things are often lost, not necessarily found, but lost. And specifically, one thing that surprised me a lot being new to Cameroon was seeing how often people leave IDs at places and don't usually get them back for whatever reason. So in this interview, we went, and the person we're talking to, he is in charge of collecting packages. So it's a travel agency, but they also run a package delivery service through the agency. And so when people come to collect their packages, they have to show their ID. And he was saying that, at least 2 IDs per month get left there. And do you remember how many got recovered?
Well, he said they pretty much never recover them because in the first place, they need to figure out like where they forgot them. And it seems like the recovery rate is pretty low. I just want to add to that we use the traveling agency because this is where losses seems to happen very often. But there are many other agencies like money transfer agencies where this happens a lot, and also just on the street you will be walking and sorry, my voice is not with me today. So you'll be just walking on the street and see like IDs hanging on the pole or something like that, and it's pretty frequent. But we can extend this. So lost and found, it's not just about IDs. This is in a nation building that category, just like Megan said, and we are planning on extending this to any lost item, stolen item as well.
Could you tell us a bit like what is the DApp about? So you said like lost and found, but what can you do with that?
Well, the title kind of explains it, right? Lost and found, a place, but you're right. We should be more explicit. So what we're thinking about is a platform, a place where you can both declare and recover lost or found items. So specifically, in the case of IDs, I think it's the most straightforward to understand in terms of what information you would need to describe it. And it's an easy enough thing to then prove is yours. There would, of course, be other levels that would need a lot more intricacy, you know, if it's a stolen laptop or if it's a, you know, a stolen car, or even going into like missing people. These are all things that we want to provide a solution to, because currently what happens with, you know, lost items, just we'll say it like that. People use the radio to talk about it, but not many people are listening to that radio. Or things don't really get recovered. And people have a really hard time with that, especially with IDs getting lost and not being able to be recovered. And then, you know, you have to go through this whole process to, you know, get your ID back. And, you know, living in Cameroon with all this corruption, people really get taken advantage of when they're without their IDs. So that's why we wanted to really highlight the ID, because it's the easiest piece to understand, and it's also really common.
Yeah. But the idea, if I will understand, is at the end you could kind of register any kind of good somehow, and you could like, okay. So
yeah, absolutely. I mean, if we look at the players here, you have like the person who lost the item, and he's searching for his item, and he can go into the platform, and declare the loss. On the other side, you have someone who might find that item, you know, and what he could do, or what he will do, will be like registering the item in the platform, you know, giving it like some criteria and descriptions and some special characteristic or something like that. And now you have the platform playing the referee, you know, connecting those two people in such a way that when there is a match, the person who declared his lost item can get notified in, you know, several ways: SMS or Android notification, and etc. And so we also have another portion that we are thinking about, which is the challenge portion, because for valuable items, we expect some sort of like fraudulent actions, you know, people trying to recover things that don't belong to them. So we have a challenge module, or we'll build a challenge module that will present those who are trying to recover an item some sort of challenge. You know, it might even include like law enforcement. But yeah, that's building.
Yeah, you think on a basic level, this seems like something that would be easy to take advantage of. You know, go in and say, I lost a laptop. It's gray. You know, so that's something that we're really aware of, and are thinking of different ways to mitigate that. One being, so when we're talking about people who declare the item, then we will eventually like to have sort of secure pickup spots. One of those could be at like a police station, for example. That was what, just to be a bit more explicit about what you're saying.
No, but I know actually it makes sense. But the idea is like, first of all, with what you presented with the idea and the fact you have this interview, you could kind of feel if there was a need for such a project. And of course, as you said later, you can still scale it up with more goods and stuff. But perhaps, as you said at the beginning, with something which, let's say, don't have a financial value. I don't know if you can say that. An ID, for instance, it's not really easy to sell it or to fake it or something. So I think it's actually a good idea. And so the guy from this travel agency, did he seem interested by such a solution, or did he think it could happen in Cameroon?
Yeah, I mean, he did seem interested. I don't think he was like on the side of the person who lost his item anyways. But I think we did ask him about like, you know, we asked him to step back and look at the thing as someone who lost his item. And he actually said he did lose his item, and it was pretty easy to recover it. So he didn't have like the full experience of losing your item and searching for it around for like weeks. and then having to go to renew it just to be told that you have to pay extra fees and stuff like that, or having to travel and, getting stopped on the side of the road. Yeah, it's crazy what actually happens when you don't have that ID and you need to renew it. It's not as easy as it happens in the Western world.
So like, no, I think so. For this first interview about like the found and lost thing, I think it's pretty clear. And actually, as you said, it might be interesting in Cameroon, but actually it could also be like, if it works, it could be applied almost everywhere, because it's really like, so we might face different problems regarding it, or different level of trust in like, because of the corruption and stuff. But actually, like, I think this such an ID could be deployed almost everywhere. So I think it's pretty cool, and it's actually cool that you guys start to see a bit and discuss with the people, because at the end of the day, it's what matters. It's like if people think it's a good idea or not.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I mean, even so, we did this formal interview, but we've been doing a lot of this stuff informally as well, and everyone admits that it's a problem. I think all the things that we're going to talk about today, we've had numerous conversations, and we were finally able to actually record some of them. But we weren't surprised about any answers to these questions. Let me put it that way.
Yeah, and I want to make sure that we are addressing, like, I think a concern or a question that we get asked about this project, or how does it relate to blockchain? I think a big part of this project is getting people to register within the platform using DID solutions, decentralized identities. And the other portion that could really be used on the blockchain platform is actually payments, like micropayments, because we are planning on getting people to contribute a small fee when they declare a lost item, in such a way that the platform could, what do you say, auto-sustain, be sustainable. And we will also be open to donation within the platform. People who recover the item, they can chip in and sustain the platform. This is more of a social project. And as we mentioned, long term, we are planning on extending it to be used by law enforcement for stolen item, missing people, and so on. So I hope that addresses the blockchain aspect of it.
Actually, quick thing I have in mind. I wanted to kind of trap you, but like I couldn't. No, it's true. No, I think it's always important, because sometimes, often for us, it's the link with blockchain is logical, but actually it's always better when you explain it, so we can see clearly the path here. And so, like, so this was your first interview, the first project you wanted to see us. So what would the next one? So you talk about micropayments and stuff. I think there is perhaps something there.
Yes. So the next one is B delivery DAO, and the idea here is really to leverage, all the what would you call them, moving medium?
Yeah, well, let's start by talking a little bit more about the problem. So again, something that I maybe took for granted living in the United States was that you could order something online and have it come to your house, or send your friend a package and have it arrive at their house in the mail. That's not to say that it's impossible here, but it's definitely not common, and it requires a lot of workarounds. If I've ever heard of anyone doing it, it's required a lot of, something strange happening, let me say. So we were thinking, how can we, there's a lot of motorcycle taxis out going around, basically delivering people from their homes to these pickup locations, if it's for, a package or if it's going to the stores or whatever, that are, driving people essentially to and from. And there's nothing that's really optimizing that in terms of, picking up, oh, I see two people, or, kind of like how Uber Pool does, in terms of combining rides. So this idea is sort of combining, both of those things, the idea of maximizing the trip, or optimizing, the trips to and from places, and also providing a service that allows you to send things to people directly instead of just sending it to their town and then having to figure out how to pick it up. Okay. So this could be applied to packages being sent, which is also something that you'll see in the other video, when we went to that travel agency to pick up, to talk about the lost IDs. You see that what they're doing there is they have bags of little packages that people are sending through Cameroon. So that's one application. And then also, things like online shopping, or, picking up items, sort of grocery store type shopping from more commercial places.
Mm-hmm. So I just want to develop a little bit on the grocery store aspect, because I think this project will really address a central problem that they're having right now. Being in such a big city like Douala, with motorcycles going up and down and huge traffic jams, it's really hard for the grocery stores that have a small parking lot to handle the amount, the number of customers, it's especially during the end of the year, they get so many customers to the point that they lose some. And we've been thinking about this, and we're like, okay, we can just work with the API. They have fixed prices. The customers know exactly what they want to get there. And, an extension of this project would be allowing those customers to interface with their, products and just order them through the platform and get them delivered, so that grocery store can maximize their numbers in terms of profit. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So that's one aspect of it. Yeah.
I think another thing that we're looking to solve with this is what you were just talking about in terms of traffic. So even people that have a car often, well, I don't know if often is the right word, but would sometimes end up taking a motorcycle taxi to places, because motorcycles can really weave through the traffic. Whereas in a car, you could be stuck in traffic for hours. And riding on a motorcycle is not safe. At the end of the day, it's a risk. It's a risk, and then you're going to pick up a package and you have to sort of balance it on the motorcycle. I've seen, really miraculous motorcycle, what do you say? Packages on motorcycles. I've seen some pretty impressive things that people do here, but it's probably not ideal. So we're thinking about optimizing with motorcycles and also with taxis. If people are waiting in their home for the package, it's much less of a big deal to wait a little bit for it. Whereas going in person and having to waiting in traffic, all of that we want to kind of eliminate.
Yeah, if I could just add a little bit to, Megan, great explanation. We have these three factors. We have time. So you save a lot of time if you can just stay home and get your package. We have, the expense money aspect. You save a lot of money if you just have to pay the motorcycle to bring your package instead of going there and coming back. And then we have the nature aspect. We do care
The
about
environment,
the
yeah.
environment, in the sense that if we can aggregate these deliveries and combine them in an efficient way, someone going from one agency with 2-3 packages to deliver in pretty much the same area, at that point we are significantly reducing the CO2 footprint. And maybe we could talk to those gas and oil companies on how we can improve this in such a way that people could be getting like a CO2 credit.
Yeah, that's something that we want to incorporate into this system.
Exactly.
Like
Some kind of tokenization of
okay.
CO2 credits.
Okay.
And I will add that the person we interviewed here, so there's the actual motorcycle driver that we interviewed, and then his customer is the other guy who's not really talking. He was like, I can wait for you guys to do this interview. And they were both really interested in when this service would be ready, and wanted to kind of sign up as our first driver.
I think it's pretty cool, especially like when you get like this kind of feedback. But I think that the idea, the overall idea is pretty cool, because like it serves several purposes. Like as you said, like it, first of all, for the customer, it's better because you are sure you're gonna get your thing. You can trace it, you know exactly who picked this up and stuff. So that's the first point. But then yes, this tokenization about like, let's say it's kind of a carbon bonuses, right? You're like, save some so you can get rewarded for this. I think it's like, we all know that you can be convinced by ecology and stuff, but if there is a little subsidized, might help a bit. So I think it's actually a really good idea.
Yeah. And on this one, from a personal experience, again, I just want to emphasize on the fact that here in Cameroon, we use like bottled gas, to cook. So we just get a bottle of gas, fill up with gas, and we plug it into like some sort of like oven. And you run out of it pretty quickly. And one of the things that inspired us on this project is the fact that you're cooking and you run out of gas and you have to take the bottle, go down, and so we want to solve that through this thing. And just a quick word on the technical aspect. So when it comes down to these motorcycles, or whoever, whatever person that has like a moving medium, he could join, whether that's a taxi or a car or a motorcycle, they are welcome. And the way we want to get them in is through a reputation-based system. That we don't have the algorithm yet, but we are working on it in such a way that you have to be validated by your neighbors and people who actually know you before you join the platform. So that's the reputation management system that we will build as a module. And the other aspect, of course, is governance. So they will have their own mechanism to, update this platform, or DAO as they like. And of course, the DID that will there will need to be identified somehow. And so those are kind of like the main modules. I think I'm forgetting the one that will handle the CEO, like
the CO2.
The CO2.
Yeah, the tokenization.
Yes, I want to be a CEO somewhere. And also the one that will aggregate the services to make them more efficient. Package A, B, C going to destination D, something like that.
Yeah.
And so those are the little pieces that will be put together to cover like the problem space here.
Okay. No, but and actually, as you mentioned, you can start by solving one problem and implement on this solution. I think it's also what's interesting in such a project. as you say, there is, and especially the last point you mentioned about like finding the best way or the most efficient way to bring this to there, it starts to be complicated technically, like to do that. But anyhow, it doesn't, you can still start the project and continue to work on this, but you don't need to have everything finished at the same time to start to have a viable product.
Absolutely.
So I think it's also what you guys are doing by working on those several projects. It doesn't mean that everything has to be done right now. I mean, it's better if it could, but the thing is, like, you can actually work on several things at the same time and try to gain experience from one project to the other.
You're definitely reading our minds.
Yeah. Well, and that's really one of the reasons that we are kind of putting all of these projects out at once, is because they're going to take a little bit to catch on, but once people are into the idea of using, if it's digital currency even, there are going to be several options of where they can use it. So maybe we can even now transition onto our other one that does have more of a specific digital currency component. So first we'll talk about Djangui, local savings account management. And so Djangui, or some people call it tontine. I've heard it referred to that in other African countries as well. It's this idea of like a local savings account. And by local, meaning not really involved specifically with a bank, usually sort of within some kind of community, whether it's, a group of people that are selling at the market near each other, or if it's, a church group, or, different types of groups, whatever reason they come together, they have these informal systems where people are contributing to a large pot. And then as people have needs, they get sort of that pot for the month. And there are different ways that people organize it, but in general, that's how it is. Everyone's contributing, and then maybe one person or two people get the whole amount each month. And there are problems with it. Sometimes the treasurer runs off with the funds, etc. So in this interview, we talked to someone in the market who does a savings account, and I'll let Manfa talk about it a little bit more.
Yeah, so the original Djangui or tontine idea is, what Megan just explained. But over time, people kind of lost confidence in, like just like she mentioned, the guy like collecting the money just runs off with the money or stuff like that. So what they did is they went back to working with microfinances, and especially like those who sell at the market. What actually happens is, at the end of the day, there's one agent, a collector agent. So he goes around and he has, let's say, 10 vendors under his account, and he collects money from them. So it's daily contribution. Some choose to do it on a weekly basis, and it depends on how much, the level of your activity. And what he does with it is he goes back to the bank, and we have two cases. He could create account for his customers, meaning the vendors, and deposit the money into it. Or he could just create his own account and put all the money into it. So, we've seen so many problems with that. Some collectors, when they get like a huge lump of money, is that word? Okay, thank you. He just run away with it. Sometimes we have microfinances just closing. The next day you come, you don't see anything. And in the interview that you seeing behind, the guy actually did experiment.
Yeah, he experienced that
He experienced it.
that he lost. Yeah,
almost $1,000.
Huge.
Yeah, like his microfinance or the microfinance he
but
was
you would
attached
think
to just closed.
Yeah, and you would think that that kind of a situation would discourage him from continuing with this type of system, but they don't. He doesn't feel like he has a better option. He doesn't want to just go and put his own money in the bank.
Yeah.
You never trust the bankers. No, but I think that, as you say, like it's really important, because first of all, that it's something really important for you, Manfo, because like your family did that, you know exactly how it works and the problem links to that, and as you say, like the problem, we don't really know what it is in Western countries. Like you don't have any other option. So like it's how it works. So like that's how the small savings I made. And I think that you're going to explain us how it works on blockchain, but suddenly with blockchain, somehow you can like solve all these problems, and honestly pretty easily. So like you can bring, sorry, I spoke too much, but it's really the thing, because I think it's really important on how this is actually tackling something that almost, I think, all African countries are facing right now.
So yeah, absolutely. So you know, the idea here is really to make sure that we are introducing a digital currency, you know, to start getting people used to the idea of a digital currency, because that's like the first step in this project. And then, you know, allowing them to make these savings using that digital currency. And we want to remove we want to make sure that they have ownership of their money. So
and visibility.
Yeah, because another big issue they are faced with is they just have like notebooks to record, you know, the contribution, the transactions, and when they lose them, all their faith is on the collector
willing of the guy who got the money.
Exactly. So that's something that we want to address as well. But I think the most interesting thing about this is, how do we then bring this back to the tontine we used to have before, you know, that we started with in the first place? Like people with common and similar interests, whatever it is, getting together and making this contribution on a daily or monthly basis or whatever, and then giving that package to one winner so that he could go off and start a business with it. So once we have people okay with the idea of a digital currency, and then we have people doing this with a collector agent that doesn't have that much power over the thing, you know, just kind of limiting the role of the microfinance, maybe just as an exchange platform or mechanism. And, you know, we want to move on to allowing people with their savings to borrow that money, to lend, borrow, lend? Okay. And like going one step at a time, and finally, you know, bringing the community together and saying, hey, look, you got together, you have the same goal, you share some common interests. Let's go back to the tontine this time. You're not going to worry about like your money being taken away, because you see everything on the blockchain, and you know. So that's like the main idea behind this project.
So if I will understand, the idea is just you're not going to create anything new. You're just going to use something which is existing, and you're just going to bring a security and safety and trust layer over this. Absolutely. But actually, the concept is exactly, and I think it's really important, because it means that people are going to understand. It's not like something completely new. You just show them that there is a new layer so they can trust the thing and there is security.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Well, and I think this is kind of related to another proposal that we have, which is really, training women on Plutus and giving them the tools to actually like come up with this model that fit the local context, like the men.
300 Plutus trained women by 2025.
Thank you, Megan. And the idea here
Mark
is
the word.
Yeah, the idea here is for like, the community to understand that women in Africa, in Cameroon specifically, are the one who actually like implement DeFi solutions within their community. And we don't want to come up, we don't want to bring in like those invasive solutions where you talk about like there's so much terminology out there, and it works in its context, the Western world. But locally here, please don't bring stuff like farming or yield. I don't know if it makes sense, but use local concepts. Just embrace like the local mental model, and build something on top of that. And yeah, it's kind of translating that into code, basically. So that's what we're trying to do here. So go women.
No, I think it's really good what you say, and I think it could apply also here because every time there is a new technology or something, at the beginning you think you reinvented the wheel because like new terms and stuff, and most of the time you see that the most effective ideas are the simplest and the thing based on a real problem. And once again, and I think honestly, this idea is for me. It's not that it's the best, but I really understand how into bracket easy it would be because once again you're just doing something that people are doing on a regular basis. It's everybody knows what it is, everybody knows how it works. You just bring blockchain, in that case, just bring an additional layer, that's it. But it's not a new concept, and I think this is really important. If we want to develop the adoption of the technology, we need to come with this kind of solution. I stop and I let you present the next project.
Well, I just want to add one more piece that people might not understand, like looking in, because adding the digital currency and the blockchain piece, it seems extreme maybe, but if you realize how much people are already using quote unquote digital currency, they're using their phone to send like mobile money. It seems like not that far of a stretch. So yeah, that will transition into then our next app. Wait, are we calling it an app? Small change wallet. Mm-hmm. What was the category?
Mini Dapps.
Mini Dapps category. Mm-hmm. Small change. Everything's small in here. So
except
I'll start.
If I will understand.
So Cameroon has a big problem with small change, meaning like coins. So we are using the franc CFA, the Central African franc, and many things. I mean, you're transacting in things that are like some everyday things could be like 100 francs. And the biggest bill that is really in circulation is 10,000 francs. So kind of there's the range. A taxi for me to the market is like 100 francs for context. And so then in terms of coins, you have a 100, a 50, and a 25. And then there are 5s, but people don't use those. They're too small. They won't even accept them, to be honest. And then for bills, you have a 500, a 1,000, a 2,000, a 5,000 and a 10,000. So the small change really applies to like those small coins, but also a little bit to even the 500 and the 1,000 bills as well. So we did interview a taxi driver. We thought this would be interesting because he's someone, like I mentioned, the trip for me to the market is 100. So he's dealing with these smaller sized transactions. And my trip is pretty short. So he will have, longer trips, maybe like 250 would be the next increment up. And then up to 500 is, a typical trip size, let's just say, per person. But he actually explained that how he deals with the problem of not having change is by purchasing change. He spends more money on getting change just to give himself some security, because when what he was describing is when he goes out in his taxi in the morning, if he feels secure, like he's not going to need to turn people away because he can't give them change. So when he starts his day, he doesn't have any change. Let's say if someone's coming saying they want to do a $100 trip and they have a $500 bill, not dollar, 500 franc. I get like caught in that. They have a 500 franc bill. He's going to have to turn them away because he doesn't have change. So he's going to end up turning away so many customers that it's not even worth it. It's worth it to him to literally buy change, and he'll buy, help me, 900 francs.
So he would give 1,000 a 1,000 bill and get 900 CFA francs.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So he's losing 100.
Okay, so he's losing 10% because he comes from a bill to, let's say, coins or like this kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so he does that consistently. That's, he's like, nope, that's just what I do. I don't, I want to have my security of being able to give people rides. And then after that point, when he starts his day on that sort of positive note, then throughout the day, he's like playing in his mind, like, okay, I just picked up someone and, they're going to have this change. So I know I can pick up these people. And with that change, I'll be able to reimburse these people. It's like a constant calculation.
Mm-hmm.
And he was also highlighting the problem that you cannot get change from the bank. I think that's another thing that I would expect, that you could go to the bank to withdraw your money and request the type of bills you wanted, even if it was change.
Second time I say it, but never trust bankers.
No, exactly. And so I think we've been describing the problem too much. We should start talking about our solution.
Yeah. Well, I think it's always good to give like a big picture of how serious this is, because we go through this every single day. Our daughter, if you could see her in the morning, trying to offering to buy like change just as it happens.
Well, she takes a motorcycle to school when she's late.
And it's 150 basically from home to school. And she has to, if she has like a 500 CFA bill, she's in trouble.
Okay, yeah.
She's going to either have to overpay significantly, like, sometimes up to 300, so double or more if they literally don't have change, or just keep getting turned down and be late for school.
Yeah. And this comes with so many problems. Even when you go to the supermarket, they don't have change, and they give you these bonds, piece of paper, with some sort of like a, note.
Yeah, like an IOU.
Exactly. But the problem
like store credit type thing.
Yeah. The problem is, those gets like faded pretty quick.
Yeah.
So, and even like within the the neighborhoods, what happens is you go to the store, you can't get the change. They write something to you, and the next day you come, there's someone else, but you need to use your money.
Yeah.
They gave you an IOU, but you can't use it. So the idea of small change is really bringing a solution to that again through like a digital currency. And I don't know if we mentioned this before. We have so many projects and we are thinking about like, implementing one digital currency that will cut across all of them. So we are really thinking about like cross-cutting concerns like DID and currency. So going back to small change, the idea is to use whatever local digital currency we implement pegged to the physical currency, CFA, in the case of Cameroon, even if I don't like it very much. It's a starting point, first iteration. And, once people understand that those small change, they could be, using small change as an app, or a wallet to collect that and being able to pay for things through that, I think it will be a game changer for both like businesses, for like people just like you and me going out on the street and having to wait for so long to get a motorcycle or to pay more for a service or stuff like that. So that's like the general solution that we want to bring to it.
And so once again, it's tackle really a local problem. Honestly, I have to confess, I've been several times in Africa, I never really paid attention of this, or probably because I was a tourist, so like I paid a bit more. But no, but like to be more serious, like it's something that we don't face in Western countries, so it's difficult to imagine. So I think it was good that you actually explain exactly what's the problem and how you can come with a solution. So because it's once again, it's really important to tackle local problems. We don't need necessarily, we were discussing this last time. It's now I think that we come from a time where we wanted to build globalized solutions, so one solution fits everybody. No, there is local needs. Let's try to fix local problems with a global technology.
And one thing that I think, so one thing that people are doing to already deal with this solution that they're not, based on the few people that we specifically interviewed. So another interview we did of someone in the market who had a little bit of a different experience, in terms of selling bigger items. So she sells produce. And she was talking about some different ways that she deals with the money change. One is sometimes letting the small things go. Like if she wants to really charge 2,200 for a watermelon, someone doesn't have change, she'll let it go for 2,000, even though she doesn't really want to. Another solution is the mobile money that I talked about. So there's a couple different ones. There's MTN and Orange are the biggest ones. And again, she was saying that she'll do it if she has to, but a frustrating component of that is that you can send the person buying, so let's say 2,200, they can send her that exact amount. And now if she wants to take it out of her account to use as actual money, she'll get, maybe I think it's 300 in fees.
Oh, somewhere around like 100 to 200, I think.
Okay. So there will be fees, and then usually people are unwilling to pay extra for doing it as mobile money. They think that they should still pay the same amount. So that's where we hope that our solution would sort of solve that problem, in terms of not having as many fees. So they would, it's sort of the same, like we were saying before, it's applying the same type of solution. They're going to mobile money, but providing a solution that addresses some of the problems with how it's being handled through the current solution.
Okay, no, like something I need to put all the things together. But like what is really interesting is also I see like through the different things you showed us, there is one common link, which is like addressing local problems and just to use blockchain as a layer on top to allow things, but it's not to, you're not going to create something which is completely new to people there all the time. Blockchain is just a plus in order to add some level of security.
It's a tool.
Mm-hmm.
Just a tool.
Mm-hmm. No, exactly. And I think because often, even here, like in France or in Europe or in the US, like when you talk about blockchain, people are like a big, yeah, I don't understand what it is.
Mm-hmm.
But like if you come to, okay, you are doing this. For instance, I come back to the tontine because I think it's the one that speaks to me the most. I really understand is there is something. So you're going to do, let's say, business as usual. It works the same. Somebody's going to manage and but you know that your phone, you can trace them. They cannot be used without your consent or whatever. But like there is trust and safety level, period. But like the functioning of the tontine is still the same. So you can work as you say with the same people you were working before. You just add a level of. And I think it's really how you can implement things on the ground. It's like through this kind of thing. And once people trust the technology, then you can do things a bit more complex, let's say, or more abstract somehow.
Yeah, and I think I'm glad that you like the Djangui one. I think that it's also kind of the core in the sense of having visibility over your digital assets, right? Like if we think about this small change wallet, what's a possible application that people who are collecting small change in this way, they could be then using it as their savings, right? They kind of all are interlinking. And the reason that we're doing these all together, in addition to sort of what you brought up, and we've said this before, but I'll just say it again here, is that our Cameroon hub is really pushing an education initiative, and we want to be educating around real projects. So these are real projects that apply to people here on the ground, and we want those people on the ground to be part of actually developing them. So we'll be through our team training people in the technical aspects, but hoping that as we come together, we're creating these solutions together. And that's a big link in these projects is the project-based learning approach and education initiative that we're leading here.
Yeah, and just to add a tiny piece, it's really also looking at the big picture of those cross-cutting concerns, like not having to repeat ourselves, like one digital currency, DID, like solution. Those are the things that will be reused across most of these systems, and this really explains our project-based learning approach in such a way that we could be implementing this through our education initiative when the time comes.
Totally, it makes total sense, and I think it's also good that we have this session, which is a bit longer, but which allows to present really like what's the link between all of this. Like you guys are presenting a lot of projects, so like people might say, but what? But like there is a link between all of this. And I think it was really interesting to give, as you said, the big picture. So there are several things, but they are all linked together by the DAD, by the currency and stuff. So it's just, and I think for us, like if you see it from outside, it's also a great way to bring people using the technology. So I think it really win-win.
Yeah, I'll also add to the numerous proposals that we're not asking for too much, for each of these proposals. We did really stick with what we thought was fair and minimal budgets. So that's another thing I just wanted to highlight in asking for a couple of different things. They're in the smaller magnitude.
No, so, totally.
In our defense.
No, and as you presented like the last time, it's you try to start to do things and then like do some MVPs and then okay, you can raise more money or find more people attracted. But like this is and it's true, like the amount you are asking for, you cannot develop full projects. It's more like to initiate the thing. And those interviews also show that there is a need, there is something on the ground. So I think it's really promising, and I think that we're gonna have another session like this soon for the other projects or for like follow up on this. And I think that we're gonna work together on interviews so like people can actually like see exactly how it works and how people are interested. So I think we're gonna continue on this path.
Yeah, we're definitely going to refine our interviewing skills. It's a lot harder than you think, standing in the market and waiting for people to like pass in front of you, like, causing like this big spectacle just for trying to get like a 5-minute clip. Yeah.
No, it's definitely not easy, especially outside on a market, like because first of all, it's pretty noisy, and as you said, like. But,
But like to get the best videos, you're in the worst spots to really get footage.
Well, I think the experience was really worth it. Just looking back and realizing that there's a lot of improvement could be done. That on its own is, to me, a big success in this first iteration.
I think it is too. So, like, we're gonna continue to work on this. I think it's good on my side. So I don't know if you guys like said everything you wanted.
Yeah, I think thanks so much for taking the opportunity to talk to us some more and let us show you these, let's say, first iteration video interviews.
No, it's cool.
Yeah, Wendell, thank you very much for having us on your show again. It's always a pleasure to, have these conversations, and we are definitely looking forward for the future.
Thank you, guys. It's always a pleasure to discuss with you, and I think that we should also record what we do in off. Like we could do another series of interviews because like the
maybe
people
French,
just see like in French.
Maybe in French.
So thank you very much, guys. I wish you a very pleasant evening, and we're gonna have such a session pretty soon. I'm pretty sure.
Absolutely.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.